Hello everyone, I am Doc from The Fockers, and again I'm going to color a comic today, just one page. This is gonna be our new thing. We are trying to do a shorter comic this time. It's not going to be a long story, just a two-page one. Just try something new and keep telling stories and in a timely manner, let's say. This time it's as you can see it's fully done. The ink is finished, and I'm going to apply some more elaborate colors than last time. It's not still the best I can do, I swear. Um, but again, there's some time constraints, so there is not going to be too many fancy stuff going on. So again, it's another comic I wrote. I think I mentioned it last time, but it's what I do best with comics, aside from coloring. I do really enjoy writing stories. I have some problems with how to put that on paper. For instance, as you can see, the panels are always squared or rectangular, and I'm very used to have comics in at maximum of 6 panels per page. I know to all manga and American comics fan out there, it's kind of weird to just have 6 panels each page, and yeah, apparently it's something we do and only we do. And by we I mean Italy. There's a pretty big school, let's say, of how to do comics. There there's a lot of original comic from Italy. I know other places where it's just American comics imported from America, of course, and mangas. We have a pretty rich and long history of doing our comics by ourselves, and it's what I read most of my life. Uh, American comics. I started reading them. I think I was over 20 years old, something like that. I'm kind of new to American comics. I never was a big fan to begin with. I'm not too much into superheroes, other than Batman, I'd say. I'm not too familiar with the genre and how the American do their things. I learn too late that I miss a lot of pretty cool and interesting stories and ideas. Going back to this comic, it's something I had in my mind for a while. Didn't know how to translate it to a full comic, so we decided to take this idea and just turn it into a simple 2-page comic. It kind of works. So, the story is of this guy that you see, this nerd that's shopping on the internet, on some dark web. He's going to buy something cursed. This idea came to my mind when there was time on YouTube where there was a lot of horror, in quotes, horror channels that were doing challenges and pretty embarrassing stuff, to be honest, where they were going to buy, pretend to be buying stuff from the dark web, and it was always some cursed stuff that, yes, it was pretty dumb ideas. But I don't know what's wrong with the dark web. Everybody thinks there's strange stuff, strange illegal stuff. Yeah, there's some, but even on the clear web, there's a lot of illegal stuff going on. So I don't know think it's just something kids like to believe, a lot of urban legends from dark web and stuff. So yeah, this guy is going to buy something from off the dark web, and big reveal, it's a course item and it will transform him. That's it. Really dumb simple idea, but it's going to be fun, I think. That's what I do best, I think, with comics, drawing things that are fun, telling stories that are fun. It's the genre I experimented most of. Begin to draw comics when I was young. I think that everybody started at a very young age, and my source of inspiration were Italian comics that I read. Were mostly fun comics and even horror stuff. The fun comics, I don't even going to tell you what they were called, because I'm 100% certain nobody heard of them outside of Italy. And the horror comic and more adventure stuff was a comic that belonged to my father and to my brother, and I started reading them pretty early. I've never been too much into books. I started reading books when I was 12, I think. But I started picking up comics books really soon, like 6 years old, something like that. And yeah, it's where my source of inspiration come from. And I started drawing my comics even at that age. They were blend plagiarism of the comics I was reading, so nothing too original. I'm kind of saddened to know that I lost them. I don't have them anywhere. But at the same time, kind of relief, because I'm pretty sure they were all embarrassing copies of more well-known comics. So it's not a huge loss. And so yeah, I started reading all this stuff. And something you may know are Disney comics, which you may also not know too well, because they're Italian, and they're very different from usual stuff you may think of Disney. So yeah, we had comics with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck and such, but they're very different. There are a lot of characters that were created in Italy, and they're only Italian, as far as I know. And I don't mean they're stereotypical Italian guys. They're just characters that belong in the Disney world, but I think nobody knows about them. Like there's a cousin of Donald Duck dressed in red, and is an absolute moron. He's called Paperoga. There's Mickey Mouse, for instance, does a lot of investigation. Yeah, he's not just a random mouse doing random things. It's mostly a police officer. Not really, no, police officer is more like a private investigator. Yeah, it's just in Italian comics, as far as I know. I was talking to a friend of mine, which is American, about his Mickey Mouse comics, where there's a lot of crime stories, with guns even. So yeah, there's people shooting at Mickey Mouse, but Mickey Mouse never used gun. Pretty sure it's because it's still a family-friendly, sort of family-friendly comic. And he was pretty shocked to know that we have such comics. Oh, there was a cool comic with Donald Duck. I know it sounds really weird to have a cool comic with Donald Duck, but trust me, it's pretty good. In which he become a superhero, So on the day is just Donald Duck being kind of not good at anything he does. Everybody loves Donald Duck because of that. But this story got retold 3 times, so I don't remember exactly how it began. It's like he was sent by Scrooge McDuck to buy no, not to buy to check out new places. Scrooge McDuck was going to buy. It is a huge skyscraper in the city of Ducks. I don't know if there is a name for it in America. And he got involved with aliens and robots and such, and he became a superhero. So yeah, it sounds really weird on paper, but I swear it's pretty good. I love the heck out of that comic. Yeah, it's kind of great. Also, speaking of Italian Disney comics that nobody heard about, Disney Witches. It's Italian. It's made by a guy I really admire. He's very, very talented with drawings. Alessandro Barbucci. And he's also made what was Monster Allergy with maybe you know, maybe you don't. It's kind of obscure outside of Europe. Yeah, we do have a lot of new comics, despite them being part of the Disney world. To some extent, because I don't know if it's if you can consider Donald Duck superhero canon or not. Oh, there's even Goofy being a superhero, but it's mostly hilarious stuff, so it's not a serious comic. Just him. It's a parody of superheroes, let's say. So don't be too shocked if most of the comics I ever attempted at doing are funny, because that's what I know most about. I'm not saying that all comics will be funny. I kind of like dark stuff too, but I'm not good at doing it. And yeah, so it started off pretty early, like everybody does, and these were my source of inspiration. Later, my life, I went to high school of chemistry. Because unlike America and other places, your high school is not generic stuff. You already have to choose the matter of your studies pretty early in your life, and it's very scary, because I find out I wasn't really interested in pursuing a career in the chemistry world. I do love science and such, but we made a lot of lab, and it's pretty tiring and boring, and I get bored really, really fast. And yeah, I'm kind of I do not have ADHD or such, but still I get distracted really easily, and I got bored during my time at the chemistry school, so I started making my own comics, which were released only in my school, in my classroom, for being precise. And it was like the first one I did was Yu-Gi-Oh parody with my teachers as enemies. And then I moved to an original comic, which sort of was a parody of what was it called? One Piece. there was a lot of original stuff. It was just a parody of the World of Pirates, let's say. Again, with some of my teachers and just some of my schoolmates in it. I always like to put in my schoolmates for no good reason in my stories. I even did so in when I went to the Academy of Fine Arts. I put some of my schoolmates in there for no reason at all. I like to draw caricatures, so I had to put them in. But yeah, I never did anything original and anything, let's say, professional on a professional level. It was just parody and comics for my friends, you know. But in Academy of Fine Arts, I think I already mentioned I studied the art of comics, and some of my teachers were professionals in the world of comics, and one of them introduced me to coloring. I began my career by coloring for him. First it was for free. It was exercises, most of them. I know it sounds like slavery. It kinda is, but at the same time I wasn't really good at it, so yeah, he shouldn't have paid me for my first time coloring stuff. But it was a good experience. I've never been that good at drawing. I do love doing it, but come on, I'm not a professional. I know it full well, but I kind of enjoyed the part of coloring, and I learned there's a lot of it's way easier to find work as colorist, a professional colorist, than as a penciler or artist in general in comics. Especially here, there are artists that very very talented, and it's kind of boring at the same time because most, I'd say 90% of Italian comics are black and white. And if you're not familiar with black and white comic, you must be excellent at drawing. There's no way to hiding it. Only the very best, the most talented get to draw comics here. Even for Disney. Disney, it's very very hard to get in. It's pretty hard, but there are not many people who are good at coloring. Especially there are not very many people that are fast at coloring, and I learned that in the comic industry it's all about being fast, because at least for the colors, because colorists, the colors are the last thing that are done in a comic before lettering. Sometimes lettering is done even before colors. So the guys that need to print the comic are just waiting for you to put the colors in. So it doesn't matter if the guy that does the drawings takes 1 day or takes 1 week. What the printer is looking for is your colors. So it's your fault if the comics is delivered late, and it's very stressful. And as I learned, there's absolutely nobody that can deliver drawings in a decent time. So it's pretty common to get the blame for if you're the colorist. It's pretty common here to get the blame for if comics get delivered late. Yeah, it's the norm, and it really sucks. I hate doing jobs where it's all about working fast for the sake of it. I like to take my time and put more details in it, but it's not realistic. And so yeah, that professor introduced me to coloring. At first I just did the flats for him. We worked for some Italian comics, but I know that he worked for Marvel too. Sadly, I never got my hand on the Marvel comics for him. I guess it wasn't good enough. I don't know. But then later, with a friend of mine, he was very very talented with drawings. He's he's so talented that in fact he got a job for Ubisoft Entertainment. He's a landscape artist. He does concept art for Ubisoft. So yeah, when we were younger, he found a job for Zinescope Entertainment, which is not small but not even big comic brand in America. They do a lot of superhero comics, and you can tell they target male mostly with their comics. All the superheroines are wearing few clothes, let's say. They all have huge boobs and such. Yeah, they might be interesting, but you know full well what you're getting into with them. There's a lot of fan service, let's say. People don't buy them for their great stories, if you know what I mean. And that's it. Later in my life I changed works many times. I did photography too. That's why I consider myself pretty skilled with Photoshop. I can do anything. I can color a comic, and I can edit some photos. I know to use the tool. Not many people know how to do both with just one tool. And trust me, Photoshop is horrendous. It's very very hard to get into it, and it's not intuitive at all. It's pretty user hostile. I mentioned that later in my life I started reading different comics than what I was used to, and when I went to Academy of Fine Arts, my professors introduced me to more mature American comics, such as Sandman from Neil Gaiman. Oh boy, I love Neil Gaiman. I love his books and I love everything he did. Yeah, it's probably one of my best, my favorite authors. I'm kind of inspired by his storytelling. I love that he pretty much plans everything out before even the story begins, so there's never a continuity error in his stuff. I love it, and it's very very hard to do it, which is something I really love him because he does it, and I really dislike mangas because it's really really rare that a mangaka knows already from the beginning what their story is going to be. For instance, in Dragon Ball, you see Goku learn the Kaioken, and later it's never mentioned ever again because there's Super Saiyan. But Super Saiyan was never a thing in the original series, so it's pretty obvious he made things up while he was going on. So something I don't like of mangas. In fact, I read very few mangas. I'm not a huge weeaboo, for instance. With that said, the first manga I read, and I both. No, well, the first manga I read, I think was Dragon Ball. My mom gifted me the first comic. I started building my collection from there, and the second one I bought was a lot time later, and was Inuyasha from Rumiko Takashi. I enjoyed it, but I pretty fast started hating it because the story kept repeating itself. I saw all this continuity error that made no sense, and the romance too made no sense. But still, I kept reading it until it was done. It was a relief for me when it finally ended. I know a lot of nerds outside might think that I am kind of an heretic for not liking them. I don't know, I prefer more serious stuff or funnier stuff. For instance, I love funny mangas. For instance, Bobo Bobo. I'm probably mispronouncing it. It probably has more B's in it. Bobo Bobo is very funny. Oh yeah, there's a lot of mangas that you probably never heard of because apparently they are only imported in Italy, so we and Japanese are the only people who ever read them. Yeah, but for more serious stuff I prefer Italian and American comics and even English ones. There's some, as I mentioned, Neil Gaiman is pretty good at telling stories. Dave McKean, yeah, is the other English author. Well, he's more of an artist, but he did Batman's the first Arkham Asylum comic. I think it's from him. Well, it's pretty damn impressive. So yeah, don't expect much serious stuff from him. I'm always looking for, well, I'm not always looking for making funny comics, but it's what I do best. And I probably have some polls to ask my patrons what I should be telling in the next stories. If people like this format, as I said, it's something new, just a shorter story that can be done faster in terms of drawings. And if people like it, I may think of better stories or even more serious stuff. I don't mind. I can give a try at least. It's never too late to try something new. I don't promise big stories with a lot of characters and such. I kind of want to keep things simple, especially now that I'm just at the beginning. As you can see, I need to do a lot of practice with laying out panels. I admit it's not the most interesting stuff. The panels are laid out into the page. It works, so I'm pretty sure everybody knows the order how to read them. It's not a given. I've seen a lot of professionals do kind of weird pages. They kind of look cool. That's it. They're just pages that look cool, but they're not as easy to read as they should be. Because after all, it's always supposed to be something that you read, a comic, despite having a lot of images. By that I don't mean strictly read the words. I mean reading also the way of the storytelling proceeds. So which part comes before which one, which order. Yeah, when I did some works for Zinescope, I saw some artists that were not really great at that. Some really confusing pages. It's even hard to work on them because when you color, you should always prioritize something. And status pages didn't really look really good, so you don't you didn't even know what the heck you were coloring. So if I had problems, I imagine whoever read that comic had even more problems than me at reading it. Yeah, that's it. As I said, I'm still trying to keep everything kind of simple with the coloring. I should add some more atmospheres and such, some other cool effects. Some simple gradients always help with that. To add some gradient to help read the lights and such. It's easy to do it, and it helps a lot to bring life to the characters and the pages. The most important thing is to never exaggerate with things. Do not use too much of one effect, or it's going to be pretty obvious that it's there, and it kind of distracts from the reading. So it's not the same flat color for even if the pullover is supposed to be of the same color, it's not exactly the same. Need to add some source lights. Pretty much done. I need to add some bits here and there. So that's it. And if you have any question, please ask them in the comment below. I'll answer them in our next video. If you like this kind of content, drop a like, it always helps, and be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on all other social media. Thank you, see ya!